Infernal blessings. We are back with another video. All right, before I begin, run through some quick announcements. Again, want to go over the black magic. Sorry about that. Let's get that back stable. Sorry about that. The Black Magic Essentials 101. One-day seminar / workshop. Again, that is available now, open to sign up and register. That's going to take place Saturday, August 24th, noon to 4 p.m. Real simple on how to sign up. People will send an email, how do I sign up? Real simple. What I'm about to tell you, the instructions are on all the social media platforms. The seminar, for the one day is $56. That can be paid by PayPal or Cashapp. When you send the Cashapp or the PayPal, you can use my email address, khnum19@gmail.com. The Cashapp is the $, capital BANITI9. When you send a Cashapp or the PayPal, just put in the notes of your payment your name and your email address, and that will ensure that the week of, you get the link for the class. Okay, it's that simple to register. As I said, we'll be covering a lot of stuff in that particular seminar: how to work magic effectively, help you get on your path consistently. We'll be talking about establishing relationships with deities and spirits and things of that nature, how to work magic effectively. We'll be discussing and ensuring that you are creating ritual work first and foremost for your needs and not your wants. That's first and foremost. And we'll be getting into a bunch of other different topics. And again, that's Saturday, August 24th, noon to 4 p.m. You can sign up for that right now. All right. Also, the 7th annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference. That will be going down from October 31st to November 3rd. Okay. And that right now you can sign up for also. Same way, Cash App, PayPal. Send me an email if you want information on how to sign up, either virtually, you can attend, or live and in person. And I'll send you that information. Again, that's a 4-day event. Kicks off on Halloween night, October 31st, with a little fun Halloween gathering, meet and greet. And then Friday and Saturday, classes and workshops during the day. And then on Friday and Saturday night, we have a group ritual on both nights, followed by a group dinner. Afterwards, we go out, we have some fun. Sunday, the last day of the conference, noon to 4 p.m., will be a question and answer session with yours truly. And that concludes the conference. Okay, it is open now to register, to sign up. If you need any information, shoot me an email, khnum19@gmail.com, for any of the aforementioned. If you want to sign up for a reading or a consultation, the way to sign up for a spiritual reading or a consultation, I offer various different kinds of readings: telepathic demonic readings, Santa Muerte readings, Egyptian oracle readings, shadow work readings, which is always again a great place to start when you're looking for a sense of purpose and direction, or you want some clarity on what direction you should be going in. Shadow work reading is the way to go for that. Deity readings to see what gods, goddesses, and demons and spirits walk with you. Or maybe you're just interested in a spiritual consultation, which, again, I have to always be clear, is not a reading or a divination session. It's just that. It's a consultation. People usually use that to just book a session with me to ask me a bunch of questions and pick my brain because of things they want to know. Sometimes they use it to focus on a specific area of the path, or maybe they got something going on in their life that they feel they need to focus on. Any of the aforementioned, shoot me an email, khnum19@gmail.com. Please include in your email the days and times you're available, a full weekly availability along with the time zone you're in, and we will find a time that works for you, and we'll find a time that works for me. Okay? If you want to sign up for classes, the way to sign up for classes that I offer, go to the official Primordial Chaos Patreon page located at patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. That's patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. Tier 3, that's the tier you want to join. That will give you access to the 3 private classes I do every month on Patreon, including the group ritual we do at the end of the month. Also, keep in mind, when you join the Patreon page, you don't just get access to the classes from the day you join. You also get access to everything in the archive, going back almost 5 years now. So you get access to the group ritual work. You get access to all the work, including the ritual work and the classes. And if you want to see, again, all of the current ongoing classes where new content is being uploaded regularly, go to the Patreon page at patreon.com/Baniti. Click the collections section, and you will see all the classes that I'm doing right now that you can sign up for and get involved. If you really want to take your path of self-mastery to that next level, to that next notch, if you're looking to really master the occult and the left-hand path, and more importantly, where your scheme of things, your place in the scheme of those things, master self, check out the Patreon page. I'm sure you won't be disappointed. All right, don't forget to check out the social media pages, Primordial Chaos 9, all one word, on Instagram, Primordial Chaos 2 words on Facebook, Primordial Chaos 3 on TikTok. All of the links to the social media pages are in the description box of the video. Don't forget to check out the Primordial Chaos podcast, available on Spotify and all major podcast platforms. The link to the podcast, the social media pages, my contact email address, the direct link to the Primordial Chaos page for classes and how to sign up. All that information is in the description box of this video that you're watching right now. All right, as you know, I like to sometimes, I should do it more so, and I always forget. I like to address sometimes questions I get in the emails, which are good topics sometimes to do some of these short tutorials. And, you know, I go through periods back and forth where sometimes I'm on. Try to stay a little more consistent on it, because sometimes the emails do spark some really good questions for these tutorials. Okay, so I get a question, and understand the context of the question is due to the fact that sometimes a person is coming out of a previous system, so their mentality or their mindset still might be quote unquote trying to make the transition. So you'll find there's some people, we work with what is labeled or described on this path: infernal spirits, infernal gods, goddesses, demons, the draconian gods and goddesses, the klepothic demonic beings or gods and goddesses, etc. Right? We have these different systems. A lot of these beings are cross-referenced in these systems. They're connected to a lot of them. Like, for an example, the draconian gods and goddesses, very connected to the Qliphoth, right? I mean, just to give you a general idea, I mean, we could do that with a lot of them. So the question I get in the email is, and obviously this person is I don't want to say they're brand spanking new on the path, but they're still kind of ripe, if that's the right word. Well, the email, without really going into it long-winded, the basis of the email, this individual in their research is trying to figure out, historically and time-wise, some of the origins of, say, Samael, Lilith, Belial, the Goetias, this, that, and the other. Now, this gets a little complex and confusing, and I'll try to do this, obviously, in a short period of time. I'll have to, basically cover some key bullet points. It's going to be hard in a short video like this to get into it in depth and detail, but I can get into it enough to give you more clarity and understanding. All right. Now, the problem is, say, with the Goetia, right? Or say with the Jinn or the Seals of Solomon, right? A lot of people will make the mistake, even with Lilith, they will make the mistake in their research. It'll trace this back to Hebrew mystical teachings, Hebrew times, which ties you right back into the chronological aspects of the Bible, which is a mistake. Okay? So let's use Lilith for an example. A lot of the information you're researching, you also have to be very knowledgeable and aware of when you're reading books and you're using resources or different types of books from different authors. understand the background, as I've said this to you guys many times before in the past. Understand the background of the individual writing the book. Because like an example with the Goetians, with Lilith, a lot of the people, not all, I just want to make this clear. I don't want my words to get misinterpreted. A lot of these books are written, these glasses like it's going to rain. A lot of these books are written by non-occult left-hand path practitioners. They're either written by Christian mystics, agnostics, or just people fascinated with the subject. Okay? So for an example with Lilith, there is a strong consensus where people, trace her origin back to the Garden of Eden story in the Bible. Now, there's a connection with that, but what I'm trying to point out, as I've said in the past, but that's not where you stop with the origin of Lilith, all right? And I got to try to explain this the best way I can. The problem where it becomes confusing with all these different pantheons, spiritual systems, cultures, and dogmas, which have cross-referenced a lot of these deities under different names, because when a lot of these stories either got passed down, usually these cultures changed it in their language, and they usually changed the name. Sometimes, well, not sometimes, pretty much all of the time, in their culture and language. As I said before, sometimes you're hearing the same story repeat itself over and over in different cultures, like the two Warren brothers story, right? That's something you see in the Bible, in the Torah, the Old Testament, in the book of Genesis with Cain and Abel. You see it repeat itself with Jacob and Esau later in the Bible. You see it with Set and Osiris. You see it with Enki and Enlil in Samaria. And you get my point. Now, the reason why the names and the titles of those individuals change is because it's the culture and the language of the people, okay? So the same thing kind of applies when you're looking at some of the infernal spirits that we work with. They don't have a beginning and an end, okay? I keep trying to stress people this because, all right, for an example, you would get stumped if I asked you, let's take Samael for an example. For what many know about Samael, he is a warring angel. Some refer to him as the angel of death, etc., this, that, and the other. How did Samael come into existence? What's Samael's point of origin? What's his beginning, if there is such a thing as a beginning? So I'm trying to get you to see, these are we use the term energy all the time, and I've said this before over the years. These are beings of light. When I say light, not artificial luminous light, beings of intellect, light, and energy. Okay, you're dealing with a certain form of consciousness that vibrates at such a high vibrational frequency that it has the ability to take on the form of an etheric or energy band. And when it slows down its vibrational rate or frequency, it takes on the form of what we know as a solid or a human being, just like you are right now. Right? You're trying to find your way back to that supreme state. It's just you don't really accept and understand that you've always been here, that you too have the ability to vibrate at that high frequency and become a being of light and energy, but it's hard for you to comprehend that because you've become so attached to your mortality. And they attach you more to the mortality when they fed us religion and put time frames and beginnings and ends. So even when we go into the religious paradigm, even when we go into the religious dogma, they make the mistake by saying in Genesis, in the beginning. So monotheism makes the mistake of putting a beginning and ending on things. The question is, a beginning and ending on what? Okay? Existence just is. That never ceases to exist. And that's not just some mumbo jumbo statement. Okay? Existence is to be, right? If existence ceased to exist, you come up with the following statement after that. But the trick comes in with in the beginning, right? Because what it does is it preps the mind. So what we do as mortals sometimes, and look, I want to make this clear. There's nothing wrong with researching. There's nothing wrong with asking questions like that. I'm not saying that. It's the inquisitive and sometimes the human part of our nature. But what the human or the mortal self, for comfort, whether you're conscious of it or not, has to put this beginning and ending thing on something to make them feel comfortable. Because they just can't grasp in their mind anything really outside of that. Because this is something that we've been programmed with from day one. Okay? And as I've been talking about in the last couple of videos about knowing thyself, I've been talking a lot about, how they have intentionally from, a small child have us looking outside of ourselves to get the answers to a lot of these questions. And as I've said, this is an inward journey out. The truth lies within you, right? We hear this statement in a lot of occult, mystical, esoterical circles, right? And it's true. You see, when we're trying to, and you get the answer to some of these questions, as I said many times before, in your ritual work, is where a lot of hidden gnosis is revealed. And it's hard sometimes giving clarity on questions that are beyond a three-dimensional explanation. So these are questions, and I'm doing my best right now to try to answer it with not limiting it to a three-dimensional existence of person, place, and thing. So we're asking questions sometimes from the point of us being stuck in that three-dimensional mentality. Because person, place, or thing, look, you give yourself a headache, you can sit here for hours, think of something, try to think of one thing, I challenge you, that's not a person, place, or thing. You'll try hard, trust me. Okay? That was done intentionally because you can't really phantom anything outside of that. So all they do to explain anything beyond the physical or anything outside of person, place, or thing, right? Then we deal with spookism. It goes the heavens and this and that. And now you're in fairy tale mythology world. Okay? So you have to understand a lot of these infernals, these demons, gods, goddesses, and spirits, you technically can't put a timeline on them. Yes, you can go back into historical records because then we got the people who are always about source this, source that, fact this, and unfortunately you're not going to be able to fact check and source every single thing. You can do it, but it's not going to 100% work. So you're going to have a struggle if you try to go back and put timelines. Yes, you can go back and pull up historical data, different cultures, and get a gauge. You can get timelines of when this or that was prevalent or not. I mean, I get that. But what I'm trying to get, not just the person that sent the email to see, but I'm trying to get all you guys to see the bigger picture. It goes well beyond that. It's deeper than that. Don't get caught up in thinking, and a lot of it comes from religious indoctrination because, right, we're taught a lineage and a genealogy from the Bible, where it talks, from Genesis, and it uses the term in the beginning. And then we see, I'm saying this all according to biblical stories, then we see Adam and Eve were first created. So now we have a beginning, we have a first. See, that needs to make humans feel comfortable, right? Because, again, they can kind of put it in a box where it makes them feel a little bit more comfortable, gives them a more simpler understanding. Well, unfortunately, what we do is not very simple. Unfortunately, what we work with is not, unfortunately, something very easy, for lack of a better word. We deal with a complex system of different spiritual systems. And this is the beauty about what we do, is we don't limit ourselves to one particular path, okay? Whereas a lot of people who belong to religions, be they right-hand path or whatever it may be, what happens is they get trapped in a lot of this mindset or thought process because they're exclusive to one spiritual system. Because they get stuck in following a particular dogma that has a bunch of rules and regulations, do's and don'ts, this, that, and the third. Okay? So it is literally impossible, 100% literally impossible, to put time frames on infernal demons or spirits like Lilith, like Samael, like Lucifer. right? And then here's where it gets a little sticky. Well, we hear Lucifer, right? We hear, there's the connection with the Bible. Well, Lucifer's mentioned in the Bible. Okay, the next question is, and? So where does that whole concept of Lucifer tie into the Bible? Now, as I said before, they left little clues and elements, especially when men translated these so-called books of the Bible. They made a lot of errors and a lot of mistakes. So you find the presence of Lucifer intertwined, believe it or not, with a multitude of different characters, how it's aligned with. So for an example, I used, and I've said many times over the years, there's a title given to Lucifer called the son of the morning star, or the morning, connects him to the morning star. Well, there's two quotes that I pointed out for years. If you go into Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12, is where it refers to Lucifer as son of the morning star. And it also refers to Jesus in Revelation chapter 22, verse 16, as David, the root of the morning star. So the question that one would ask themselves intelligently when they read that, why are both given that same title, the morning star, when one is supposed to be a holy art thou, infallible, perfect being, or, / prophet, Jesus, and the other one is supposed to be pure wickedness and evil? Because the other thing you have to understand, Lucifer is not who and what you think it is if you're accepting the religious definition and explanation. What is the war in heaven? What is it when Lucifer was cast out in Revelation chapter 12, verse 7? Okay, I tried to tell you, there's a conglomeration of stories mixed in there from different cultures. That's telling you about the war that took place outside of the physical realm, on a whole different spiritual plane. That didn't happen what we know here on the physical or earthly realm. That's why movies like, for an example, the Star Wars trilogy, the whole concept of the Jedi and the Sith, and Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker and Yoda, you're seeing, that battle that it's talking about when it says there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and his angels. It's the Star Wars plays off a bunch of different concepts and cultures prior to it. But this is what you're seeing. You're seeing you're getting glimpses and pieces of stories of things that took place outside of what we know as the physical realm, person, place, or thing. Now, the next question, you might be listening to the video, how can I prove and validate any of the stuff that you're saying right now? Because not really technically all of it is in a book or a source. And you're right, it's not. But remember what I said earlier in the video, a lot of this information and awareness and truth comes to you via your spiritual work. When you make that connection with the spirits, the gods and the goddesses and the demons, they piece the puzzles together for you. And not everybody's going to accept it, and you can't convince everybody of it. Okay? You can't. Because, again, you're going to have some people who are just looking definitively for some source to validate everything, and it's not going to work. You can try. So not all of it is going to be embraced and accepted, and that's fine. But remember, this is a path to self-mastery. This is about your personal journey. So your first and foremost intent should be coming to the realization and truth of these things for yourself first, right? Not for anybody else. You're not trying to ask for validation from anything anywhere. We're beyond that on this path. Because some people could say a lot of the things we deal with in the occult and the left-hand path, well, none of it can really be proven. None of it can really be validated. Well, it's very easy. We can do the same thing. Flip that script. Okay? Because the reality is, if you think everything, when we're talking about what we're talking about now, when it comes to these different aspects of spirituality, can be verified by some source or book, that question can be turned around very simple. in a very easy way to say a religious person. Okay? Because they're not thinking outside the box. They have to stay in the box, and that box is the Bible. So they're trapped and stuck like Chuck, because anything that you present that goes outside of that Bible, they're going to have a hard time dialoguing with you about. And if you're somebody like me who has mastered that Bible front to back, you're going to have some questions for it. Okay? So my point being is this. Whether it's the characters of the Bible and the prophets who predate the stories that you're reading about them in your modern day Bible, these were characters in other systems like ancient Egypt, that a lot of the men and the writers and the translators of the Bible grafted these stories from, whether it's that or whether it's dealing with what we work with on this path, a lot of these infernal demons and spirits. The answer to the question is simple. You cannot put a time frame on any of that. Right? You can say if it makes you feel better, 75 billion years ago. 75, whatever, 750, whatever you need to do to float your boat. Because here's even the deeper thing. Some people may not like this perspective. At the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter. What does matter is the connection you establish with the spirits. Right? What does matter, if you are getting results, there's your confirmation. And that's the most important validation that you need, other than anything else that's out there. Okay? Look, I used to be one of those. I was big on that in other systems. I would get into debates with people in other systems, and I would, when it came to like producing some resources or some sources, you can get caught up in that argument. So if you're a person that needs, and again, this is not just to the person that sent the email, so if you're watching it, when you see this video after it uploads and records, I want to make this clear. I'm not coming directly at you in any shape, form, or fashion. It was a good question, a good email. But what I'm saying is, if you're somebody who is on this path and needs everything to be defined in accordance with three-dimensional understanding of person, place, and thing, as far as origins of timelines, beginnings, and end, this is probably not the path for you. Because guess what? We start to realize our connection with these spirits and demons, and we start to understand better ourselves and who we are, and we start to come to that realization. We have always been here. We come to the realization, this ain't my first go around here. That gets into, I'm not going to talk about all that right now. But we start to come to the conclusion that, look, the shit that they taught us, it's not right. It goes well beyond that, and again, we don't take the mindset where we got to have a date and a time frame for every little thing, because you're going to drive yourself mad and crazy. Is my point. It's not going to work. Okay, so long story short, these infernal demons and spirits, gods and goddesses, they don't have a beginning or an end. And if you listen, then if the next question is probably, well, how did they come about? Listen, I mean, that's another conversation. But a lot of questions like that are going to be revealed to you, and you're going to get clarity on in your personal ritual work. Okay? And again, that's the human mortal part of our nature that needs to feel comfortable. Okay? And this is not a comfortable path. Not in that sense. Okay? So know you're working with beings that are, their origin is before time immemorial. Okay? But the even more important thing is to understand you come and are connected to that very same essence of where they came from. When we even go back into the science of Leviathan and the primordial chaotic energy, right? You have your roots and origin in that too. So I don't want to create like there's a separation between these beings and us, and then there's this huge gap of inferiority, because that's not the way we work. Okay? You come to the realization and you get clarity on a lot of these things through your ritual work. All right. So anyway, I just wanted to answer that email from that individual. Look, good question. Don't get too caught up in that. Keep navigating through your path. Do your research. You're gonna get you're gonna pull up a lot of information, and just be prepared. It's gonna have you scattered all over the place. Okay, but once you establish that strong relationship with these spirits, there's certain things revealed to you. I mean, it'd be pointless for me to go through all that because it's personal. Just like when anybody watching has their subjective or personal experience, it's personal. All right. Other than that, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Again, if you need to reach out to me for a spiritual consultation, a spiritual reading, if you want to sign up for classes, the Primordial Chaos Patreon page link is in the description box of this video. My contact email address, the link to the social media pages, the podcast, all of those links to do any of the aforementioned are in the description box of this video that you're watching right now, just in case you forget. All right, that's going to do it for me on this short tutorial. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Infernal blessings, and we will talk soon.